I stalled on keto. What's going on? Why am I not losing weight? You started a ketogenic diet. You've cut your carbohydrates out, but you hit a stall. This is a really, really common question. I mean, a lot of the clients that come to us have stalled out on their diet. What do you look at to troubleshoot? There's many different angles we can take here, and of course it's going to be based on the individual context, right? Some of this information might be useful to some, might not be useful to others. But I'm going to try to give you a broad perspective on this and give you as many angles as I can think of in a short amount of time that we got here. The troubleshoot when you hit a so-called stall on a ketogenic diet. So the first thing you want to do, make sure you've actually hit a stall. A stall is not, the scale doesn't tell you what you want to see every day. A stall is not, oh, it's been 1 week and I haven't lost any weight yet. Those aren't stalls. A stall, I would consider, would be like consistency of like 3 to 4 weeks with zero progress at all on both the scale as well as measurements, right? Waist measurements. Some people like to measure their arms, their legs, around the belly. Because the scale doesn't always tell us what's going on. So that's another thing we gotta understand. First thing, did you actually hit a stall? Right? 1 week, scale doesn't tell you what you want, doesn't mean it's a stall. 2 weeks, still probably doesn't mean it's a stall. Sometimes there's water weight fluctuations. We can lose body fat, and it seems like there's water retention that often happens around the areas where we've lost fat. And then suddenly people wake up and they've whooshed out 3 to 5 pounds. They call it the whoosh effect. Very, very common that people do lose fat, and it doesn't reflect on the scale quite yet. So that could be happening. Another thing that could be happening is you could be losing body fat while gaining muscle. Right? So if you get on a ketogenic diet, you pull out the carbohydrates, suddenly you've got more energy. Suddenly you're moving around more. Your hormonal profile has shifted, and you're creating enough of the sex hormones to actually create, you've got these sex steroid hormones, and you can actually build lean muscle tissue better now. Right? I mean, many people are coming to keto from very, very nutrient deficient plant-based diets, vegan diets, vegetarian diets where you weren't getting sufficient protein. Assuming, hopefully, that you're getting enough protein on a ketogenic diet, which we'll talk about in a bit. Assuming you're getting sufficient protein to support your activity levels, your lean muscle mass, your bone mineral density, to create human growth hormone, the other hormones requiring protein, you're giving yourself, hopefully, more of the building blocks of those sex steroid hormones as well, right? Cholesterol is the backbone of testosterone, progesterone. All your sex hormones need cholesterol. So a ketogenic diet can be very, very balancing hormonally. Start balancing your hormones out, you might start putting on lean muscle mass. I've seen it in people who aren't even exercising, who aren't even resistance training and doing hypertrophy training. That lean muscle mass can increase in these states while you lose body fat. In such a case, say you lose 3 pounds of fat and gain 3 pounds of muscle, you've recompositioned your body through proper diet and movement patterns and rest and recovery. Your scale's not going to be moving, but you've lost fat. So measuring your waist can be really important. The scale doesn't always tell us everything that's going on. The scale only tells us what you weigh. Remember, there are also water weight fluctuations that happen throughout the month. A lot of female clients come to us right around monthly cycle. That monthly cycle comes, you might be putting on 5 pounds, sometimes even more, sometimes a little less. You might be putting on a little bit of water weight. So understand that there are water weight fluctuations if you've got a lot of stress, if your circadian rhythm is disrupted, if you're waking up in the middle of the night quite a bit, if you're a nursing mother, you might be dealing with a little bit of water retention. Okay, so common reasons for people stalling. Let's move on. One of the most common problems that I see, I'm working with thousands of clients over the years, and especially now when we do our group coaching, it's actually really fun because in our Keto Collective, We had called it the Keto and Carnivore Collective now, because so many people are coming interested in carnivory. Basically a zero carbohydrate diet. Sounds crazy, right? But a lot of people get very, very good results, especially for autoimmune conditions. I don't recommend it for everybody. In fact, I don't really recommend it to most people, but there is a lot of interest in zero carb way of doing keto, a carnivorous style diet. When we do our Keto and Carnivore Collective, our community coaching, we find that there are a lot of people who come to us under eating protein and overeating fat in order to try to hit these magical keto macros, which don't even really exist. There are no real magic keto macros. There's no 80% fat, that's going to get you in ketosis, and ketosis is going to give you the fat loss. That's an oversimplification, and it's very, very misdirected. The early information on ketogenic diets were concerning epileptic children who had refractory epilepsy that weren't responding to drugs. These kids, epilepsy, were not responding to drug treatment, and they found that if they fasted them or put them on a very, very low carbohydrate diet, very, very restricted diet, or just straight fasting, either water fasting or dry fasting would get them there even quicker, that those people in that state, in that fasted state, would be spared the seizures, right? They would actually be able to withstand more stressors as well without pushing themselves into that seizure zone. Those diets were about 80% fat, some of them 90% fat. Those are for growing children, not for people losing body fat. Right? One of the problems with a ketogenic diet for epilepsy for kids is that those children would have growth issues. Keto is a very, very satiating diet. It drops your hunger significantly. So in the 20s and the 30s, when they were first doing this, they found that a lot of these kids had issues with development. They were eating low nutrition diets. They weren't getting in the foods that the body needs to build. And they found that having to increase the caloric load from fats to keep these kids from muscle wasting, as well as to keep them in a very deep ketotic state that was required for brain chemistry so that they didn't get seizures, they found that this was required. Now, that doesn't mean that for you or I on a ketogenic diet, we need to be constantly eating 80% fat. This is a myth. Now, for a maintenance calorie diet on keto, if you're not trying to lose weight, your diet will probably look like 70 to 80% fat. But if you're trying to lose body fat, remember, you can burn fat from the plate that you ate or from your body. And that is determined by how much dietary fat we intake. So if we intake more dietary fat, we're going to burn less body fat. If we eat less dietary fat, we'll burn more body fat. So in the beginning, it's usually better to be at around maintenance calories. Usually better to increase the fats dramatically without giving yourself gastrointestinal disturbances. But what I find is a lot of the advice that people are being given can be confusing. And a lot of people out there end up overeating on the fat, being afraid of protein because they're told gluconeogenesis is going to kill you. Right? So they undereat the protein, they overeat the fat. Remember, gluconeogenesis is required for human survival. If you couldn't create glucose out of certain amino acids, not all amino acids, and the backbone of fatty acids, glycerol, right? If you couldn't create glucose, we would need a constant IV drip of glucose for energy into our body at all times. Right? So gluconeogenesis is required for ketosis. It's required for survival. It's not the enemy of mankind. It's not the enemy of fat loss. And it is, according to all the research that is known, a demand-driven process. It's not driven by supply. So infusing more amino acids into the blood doesn't create more gluconeogenesis. Right? So we've got this insulin-glucagon ratio. We listened to there's a good presentation by Dr. Benjamin Bickman, B-I-K-M-A-N. You just search Bickman glucagon insulin on YouTube. You find a fantastic presentation concerning the dance, the intricate interplay between these two hormones in the human body and how they affect satiety and fat loss. Glucagon, very important. It's not just about insulin. So a lot of people are very afraid of protein. They don't realize that in a low carbohydrate state, the insulin response to protein is significantly lower than in a glycolytic state where you're eating a mixed diet of carbohydrates as well. There are differences. So people get afraid of protein when they shouldn't. They undereat that protein. That doesn't, and that doesn't allow them to have satiety, right? Protein is the satiety-inducing macro. Protein is the macro. It is the lever of our hunger. Once we get enough protein in, we don't seek other macros. In fact, there's an entire theoretical framework concerning fat loss, diet, and the regulation of hunger called the protein leverage hypothesis. Basically, holding that protein is the master satiety controlling input dietarily in the body. And when we get enough protein, we will not eat more fat or more carbohydrates even when those foods are present. Right? That's why when you eat a big ass steak, you're good. That's part of the reason why a lot of people doing a carnivorous style diet and they're focusing on fatty cuts of meat, why they get significant results with very, very simple rules without having to think about much more, because when you get sufficient protein, your hunger drops. So this is a major issue with people trying a ketogenic diet, is they start undereating on protein and overeating the fat. They guzzle the MCT oils to try to boost up those ketones, and they end up not burning the body fat that they want to burn. So once you get adapted to a ketogenic diet, you don't want to be adding as much fat as you possibly can. You want to be focusing on, fatty cuts of meat where the fat is intact with that protein source, foods like eggs, right? But you don't want to be pouring coconut oil on those foods if the goal is to burn fat from the body. Remember, you can burn fat from the plate or fat from your body. And then this is one of the major principles that we like to teach, especially in the beginning, like in the first week of the Keto Collective, we go over how to set up your own macros. Right? And by the way, the next Keto and Carnivore Collective is starting next week. So this week is the last week to sign up for the November Keto Collective, which is our community coaching setup. I still do private consultations, but I really prefer, even when people come to me for private consultations, I tell them you might want to consider doing the Keto Collective because first of all, you get a lot more interaction. All right, we do several live interactive voice chats per week. We do at least one lesson per week, and then we do a live Q&A as well. We answer questions in the lessons as well. But and it's a really fun thing because we get a lot of clients who've got synergy, right? We've got a lot of clients who have similar lifestyles, who have similar stalls, similar struggles, and it's so good to be able to give each other support in a community-based setting, right? I mean, a lot of people that come to me for coaching, they just want the accountability. And for one-on-one coaching, that's great, but it's even better if you've got community accountability. If you've got other people who are in a similar situation going through this as well, to bounce ideas off of, to celebrate triumphs with, to discuss the difficulties with, and to hold each other accountable. So many people who come to us for the Keto and Carnivore Collective have been undereating on protein, overeating on fat, gaining weight, or just maintaining their weight. Another thing that you want to remember though, if you think you've hit a stall, and I'll wrap it up, but another thing you want to remember, check out Ribeye. What's up, troublemaker? What are you doing? What are you doing? Come here, come here, come here, Goofy. What's up? He's big now, huh? He was like 4 pounds a few weeks ago, and now he's like 30 something. It's huge. Anyways, you gotta understand, ketogenic diet, not a quick fix. And if you're looking for a quick fix, you're setting yourself up for failure. Quick fix diets never work. It's not a race, right? Nobody wants to waste time, obviously. If you got 100 pounds to lose, you can lose that in 1 year. But we've got to do it in a way that's sustainable. And we can't just look at this as like a quick race to the finish. We have to understand that we are building habits. Right? And that's what we work on in the Keto and Carnivore Collective, and that's what I'm always pushing on clients is we're not just looking for quick results, we are looking for a lifestyle that we can enjoy long term. What's up, Ryder? Oh, you want me to eat a banana? Yeah. I don't want a banana. I don't eat a steak. Nah, you're getting big, dude. Short-term diets are long-term failures. We've got to create a systemic, we've got to look at this systemically. We've got to look at this holistically. And we've got to create a well-rounded holistic lifestyle involving diet, movement, proper circadian rhythm entrainment, proper rest and recovery, And this can allow us to get that insulin sensitivity back, to stabilize our blood glucose as long as our food choices are good. We're eating at the right time. You know, chronobiology, the timing of meals can be important too. If we do this, we set up a lifestyle and a habitual framework that we can enjoy and maintain long term, then we can get those results and keep that fat off. So don't look at it as a race. Don't be comparing yourself to all these other people. Don't go on Instagram and start looking at all the freaking transformation pictures and thinking, why is that not me? Look yourself in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and ask yourself, what do I really want? And why am I doing this? Because if you're just losing weight, so you could take a picture and put it up on Facebook, and have all your old high school friends look at it, maybe give you some likes and thumbs up, give you that quick dopamine hit, it's time to rearrange that mental state, if that's the case. If you're just looking for a quick token goal to be achieved, you're probably not going to sustain the fat loss. But if you can create a solid foundation of habits of food prep that you actually enjoy, right? If you can find foods to eat consistently to where you don't have to think about it, you just make breakfast. And you can do that for a long time and enjoy it. Right? I love being able to wake up in the morning and know that my blood glucose is stable, that I don't need to eat right away. But if I am hungry, if I am, putting on weight, if I'm working out, if I've got a higher caloric need, I know that I could just throw a steak on. I love steak. Like, I can eat steak for every meal, right? I quite enjoy eggs. I quite enjoy foods like sardines and olive oil, right? I like fatty, salty foods, animal proteins and fats. So I love being able to wake up in the morning and not even have to think about what I'm going to make for breakfast. I know that I can always have the same thing and feel totally satiated and then move on with my day. I'm not looking at this as some culinary tour. I'm not looking at this as entertainment. I look at food as fuel. I look at it as nourishment. I look at my diet, my lifestyle, as preventative medicine. So, we've got to create the habits. We've got to stop chasing the quick results, chasing the Instagram model, fitness industry, illusory transformation pictures, and we've got to get real with ourselves. And it really helps to have a good reason why. I want to be 50 years old and be able to wrestle with my kids. I want to be able to run around with my kids in the yard. I want to be able to pick up some heavy objects if I need to. My diet, my lifestyle, maintaining my health allows me to do these things. If your reason why is strong enough, you'll make it happen. So anyways, stalls on a ketogenic diet, there's some thoughts right there. That's kind of some of the things that I like to look at if clients come to me and they've hit a stall. First of all, is it really a stall? Second of all, you got water weight fluctuation, stress, right? Lack of sleep. That can all cause water retention. Another thing, if you're building muscle, if you're working out, if your hormones are changing, you could be losing inches on your waist, but the scale isn't even telling you what's going on. So measure your waist. Measure other things other than just the scale. And remember, there are non-scale victories. If your hunger is dropping, if your satiety is going up, that's a good sign. When the hunger drops down, no need to force down the foods, no need to guzzle down those extra fats. Another thing, make sure you get sufficient protein. Make your diet based around nutrient-dense, whole, unrefined foods. For a guide on how to prepare nutrient-dense, whole, unrefined, ketogenic foods, check out my wife's book, The Ketogenic Edge Cookbook, the training manual for low-carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. If you get in properly nourishing foods, hunger and satiety drop significantly. So I'm focusing on fatty cuts of meat, focusing on things like organ meats can be really, really useful. That's why we've got a whole section on organ meats in our book. We call it the odd bit section. Show you how to make bone broth, how to prepare liver, how to make pate, right? These nutrient-dense foods that are highly prized in all cultures, but have been, for some reason, forgotten in ours, can be really, really good for hunger and satiety, right? You get the nourishment you need, you get the nutrient-dense foods in that you need, and your hunger will drop. So learning to prepare your own keto foods is crucial. Don't rely on Wendy's burgers, don't rely on In-N-Out, don't rely on Chipotle to make all your food. Right? We've got to learn to make our own food. So that's why we made the books. We call it a training manual for low-carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine, because it teaches you how to formulate well-formulated keto meals. It teaches you how to use the most nutrient-dense parts of the animal. There's a whole section on how to use organs, a whole section on eggs, sections on veggies. We even teach you how to, make more bioavailable vegetables, like how to ferment your vegetables in a traditional way, make your own sauerkraut, stuff like that. So check out the book. That'll be very, very helpful. And remember, it's about long-term habit formation. Look at the long term. So keep it simple. Don't be eating a bunch of Quest bars and junk food. Focus on nutrient-dense, whole, unrefined foods that you made yourself, that you prepared yourself. Get sufficient protein. Fat is your energy source. That fat can come from your body or from the plate. Make sure there's no secret hidden carbs coming in the diet. And maintain consistent intake of food, right? Some people aren't even tracking. So make sure you're tracking so you know what you're eating if you've hit a stall. So keep it simple. If you want more help, you can hit us up for private consultations. But like I said before, highly suggest, rather than the private consultation route, going for the Keto and Carnivore Collective. The group coaching, it's much more fun, and the community-based aspect is very, very helpful for adherence, and it makes it a lot funner. So we see a lot of people making long-term, lasting friendships in the Keto and Carnivore Collective, which is awesome. So hit us up at primaledgehealth.com. Remember, you're way more than what you eat. Go get off that freaking social media. Get off your Facebook. Close your damn Facebook account. Kill your Facebook account. Get out there. Talk to real people in the real world. Live your life.